Hi, I'm Sean Waterman with FedScoop TV, and today we're here at the Adobe Digital Government Assembly. I'm talking to Richard from the FBI. Richard, thanks for joining us.
Sure, great to be here.
And I just heard your session, very interesting. You talked about the sharing compulsion. Tell us what problems that creates for an organisation like the FBI with a lot of high-value information assets. How do you both protect your data but share it appropriately, as required by law and policy? How do you do that?
Great question. I think obviously for many of us, 9/11 was a transformation. For FBI especially, transforming from a reactive organization that tended to be close hold of its data, its information, to trying to be a partner that interacts with other agencies, other parts of government, state and local, international, and at that kind of looking forward at that tempo and that pace of doing that sharing, it's making sure that our controls and the ability to understand what we're putting out there is still protected. The one thing that the FBI was ultimately responsible for is a lot of personal identifiable information. We obviously have investigations that involved U.S. citizens. That's ultimately paramount, that you don't want information on citizens to get out inadvertently, or because you can't pull it back. And so how do we build our systems and our capabilities and what is being shared and who we share something with that a secondary or tertiary sharing doesn't expose it? I think that's where we look at that. Now, how do we try to keep up with that? I think within our systems, we look at it from a security standpoint. Which enclave? We have data at an unclassified, secret, top secret level. You would think, rightly so, that the data that we have at our top secret enclaves or our secret enclaves, they have methods, they have tradecraft. Those are really critical. But sometimes what happens in that unclassified network is even more vital because it's easier to share. It's potentially out there with more partners and customers that could leak out. And so looking at each of our different types of information and also who we're sharing that with is important.
And with these technological changes and the policy changes that there have been since 9/11, does the FBI, like much of the rest of the government, do you have an issue with legacy technology, with trying to run a 21st century organization on 20th century technology?
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes in different, I think, different dimensions. One, we have operational systems and we have back operation systems, and we've invested a lot of resources, a lot of effort to bring many of our operational systems up to the 21st century. Anytime you do that, there's always these peripheral systems that tie into that. So as we develop our case management systems and some of our other data storage capabilities, you're always in this position where you have some things in front of others, and you're only as good as your weakest link. And so we may have an updated case management system, but what are all the other system requirements that tether into that? And I think from another dimension, you can't just focus on the operational systems because you're only as good as your weakest links. From a logistics support system, such as our financial system that does all of our travel, procurements, our HR systems, which is really kind of core to our talent, which is, as director talks about often, we're only as good as our people. And so are those systems keeping up? And we're in the process of changing out many of those legacy systems. It's somewhat like going to the moon. We went to the moon back in the 60s. Trying to get back to the moon isn't necessarily all that easy. Likewise, we built some of these systems 25, 30 years ago. They've served us well. Actually going through the process with modern systems to try to get them online takes a lot of effort. And as you're bringing them online, making sure some of the controls that you've potentially had in the past that may have not provided as timely or as much sharing capability, that as you build those into it, you're not exposing yourself to backdoors or other ways of that data being exposed.
So, it's not just as simple for you guys as buying a COT system. You've got requirements that reach way beyond that.
I think we start out with that. Wherever we can leverage or use something that's already been developed or designed. That's our intention. That's not necessarily the FBI of the past, where you built everything internally and you didn't bring things like that in. We definitely are, from a business acumen, wanting to leverage and use things that are already out there. In some cases, depending on where those things are manufactured, vulnerabilities that come at them, whether or not we can accept them in to an intelligence type of organization. And then oftentimes it's taking a COT system, like the rest of the law enforcement or intel community. What we do is somewhat unique compared to corporate entities and others, obviously. So, there's really not a system. I'll give you an example, our HR system. So one of the things that you would want in an FBI system are blood types. And the reason we want blood types is because we have agents in there, and if something happens to an agent, you want to have that type of information. That's not necessarily what you're going to get from a COT system from a commercial entity. They may not be as concerned about stuff like that. And so it's oftentimes we have to build some of those additional capabilities in. But granted, if we can, it's efficient, oftentimes more time proficient to bring on and cost efficient to bring on systems that are already developed, and we try to do that.
One last question. Talk to me about your next generation IAFIS. This is the next generation ID system that the FBI is implementing. Where are we with that, and when is it going to be finished, or is it?
So we have our at the core of what we do, in terms of the FBI is known for its investigative operations, what we provide in terms of those things that you oftentimes attribute to what the FBI is doing in terms of investigations or mission sets. But there's a significant part of the FBI which ends up being stewards of other people's information. So we are the clearinghouse for the fingerprints of all the different states, all those criminal fingerprints and civil fingerprints, like mine and yours are in there. That system, which has served us well for many years, has gone through development, and we've deployed out a more timely, accurate system, and it is out there. It has a lot of capabilities and accuracy that even as accurate as our previous system was, and that was a significant investment. It was a significant opportunity as well as requirement for the FBI, to the taxpayers, and to the mission set, and that data being able to be provided to state, local, civilian organizations that need those verifications of fingerprints across the country. So it is deployed. There's some other capabilities that we will be, rolling out. It's a much more agile system than in the past, but thank you for asking about that. It's a number of valuable systems, and that's one of them that lets us do the mission and share with our partners and be able to leverage with our partners' success.
Thanks very much.
Thank
Richard.
you.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks.